Have you ever felt like a shadow in your own family? A mere silhouette on the periphery of parental affection? Such was the life of Mia Sinclair, a young woman whose story begins with an oft-repeated cycle of favoritism and neglect. Mia, the eldest of two children born to the Sinclairs, seemed destined to forever orbit the spotlight cast upon her younger sister, Lily. Mia grew up in a small town where life seemed simple on the surface, yet her family dynamics were anything but uncomplicated. Her parents, Richard and Eleanor Sinclair, were well regarded in the community. Eleanor volunteered tirelessly at local charities, and Richard ran a successful business. On the outside, they appeared to be the perfect family, but closer examination would reveal the cracks that ran deep beneath their polished surface. From a young age, Mia understood she was not the favored child. Her sister, Lily, could do no wrong in their parents' eyes. Each accolade, every commendation from teachers or triumph in the school play, was met with exaggerated praise and celebration. Lily basked in this adoration, growing bolder with each passing day, her confidence swelling with the unwavering support she received. But Mia was different. She was diligent and responsible, applying herself wholly to her studies and extracurricular activities, hoping to garner the approval and acknowledgement she craved. Her efforts, however, went largely unnoticed. Her accomplishments were met with lukewarm responses, and her successes were rarely celebrated. Life trudged on with the Sinclair household maintaining a delicate balance, until one day, Mia was faced with a choice that would alter the course of her family dynamics forever. Lily had, once again, ventured down a questionable path, accruing substantial financial instability as a result of impulsive life choices. Richard and Eleanor, overwhelmed with concern, approached Mia with a request. They asked her to financially support her sister, to contribute her hard-earned savings to aid Lily, a gesture they had never considered asking of her before. Mia was taken aback by the request, her heart swelling with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. This moment was the culmination of years of favoritism, the final straw that chipped away at her patience and understanding. Unlike in times past, Mia stood firm. She refused to give in to their demands, breaking a cycle that had persisted unchecked for too long. Surprisingly, Mia's act of defiance did not go unnoticed by the entire family. Unknown to her at the time, her grandparents, who had quietly witnessed the family dynamics from afar, decided to intervene. They stepped forward and aligned themselves with Mia, choosing to support her unwavering stance. They severed their financial support to Richard and Eleanor, acknowledging the unfair burden placed upon Mia's shoulders. This revelation presented a twist in the Sinclair family saga. Was it possible that Mia's moment of courage would bring about a change? Could the intricate tapestry of familial love and favoritism be rewoven to include her amidst the fold of affection? These were questions left unanswered, but one thing was certain. Mia's journey was just beginning, and her resolve had sparked the dawn of a new chapter. Stay tuned for part 2, where the story unfolds to explore the impact of Mia's decision and the turbulent aftermath that challenges the Sinclair family in ways they never anticipated. Henry always felt the weight of neglect pressing down on his shoulders. From a young age, it was painfully obvious to him that he was not the apple of his parents' eyes. While he diligently excelled in school, excelling in mathematics and science beyond expectation, it was his sister, Lily, who captured their hearts. No matter how many accolades Henry achieved, Lily's minor achievements were always praised more fervently. The summer of 2007 serves as a vivid reminder of this imbalance. Henry had just won the National Science Fair, a prestigious accomplishment he had worked tirelessly for. Yet, his parents were more absorbed in Lily's preparation for a dance recital, a recital that she later decided not to attend. They were quick with their apologies, but the damage had already been done, and the pattern continued for years. By the time 2010 rolled around, the situation had not changed. Lily, 3 years younger than Henry, was given the family car the moment she got her license, something Henry was denied despite his flawless driving test. And while every birthday for Lily was a grand celebration with friends, family, and lavish gifts, Henry was lucky to receive a cake and a card. Things took a more challenging turn in 2015, when Lily, now a mother to Lucas and Amanda, reached out for financial help. She had lost her job and was struggling to make ends meet. Henry, freshly out of university and grappling with student loans, felt the pressure. He had saved up enough for a modest apartment in the city and was looking forward to a fresh start in his new job as an engineer. When his parents approached him with the request for money, insisting that family helps family, Henry finally drew the line. "I cannot support Lily right now," he told them firmly, citing his own financial commitments. His decision strained their already tenuous relationship, revealing the deep-rooted favoritism that had festered over the years. To Henry's surprise, his grandparents, who had always been pillars of support, intervened. Understanding the burden he had carried for so long, they decided to cut off financial aid to his parents. "We can't continue enabling this," his grandmother told him in a reassuring phone call. "You've done well for yourself, and you're not responsible for fixing everyone else's problems." Henry found solace in their support, realizing that he had always had someone in his corner. As the years passed, the chasm between him and his parents seemed to widen. They had expected him to cave, to provide for Lily and her now 5 children from different relationships. Instead, he stood firm, carving out a life where he could finally put himself first. In 2020, the pandemic brought about its own set of challenges. Henry's job forced him into long hours of remote work, and while he was isolated, he was grateful for his decision to maintain distance from the toxic familial expectations. Clear and open lines of communication with his grandparents became more crucial, acting as a lifeline amidst the chaos. It was during one such call in April 2021 that Henry learned of his parents' struggle. They were on the verge of losing their home, a situation brought on by poor financial choices and a lack of planning for the unexpected. Lily had moved back in with them, her own relationships having fallen apart, and was now once again a financial burden. A small part of Henry wanted to help, to reach out and extend a hand, but the years of neglect and favoritism had left scars deeper than he could mend. Instead, he continued focusing on his career, dedicating himself to projects that challenged him and brought fulfillment. He also found support groups, meeting others who shared similar stories of family dynamics gone awry, of walking away from relationships that drained more than they gave. In 2023, Henry achieved a significant milestone: his promotion to senior project manager in a prestigious engineering firm. A position that not only cemented his expertise but provided a substantial increase in his salary. This achievement marked the culmination of years of hard work and dedication. He celebrated quietly, with a few close friends and his beloved grandparents. Reflecting on his journey, he realized that while the longing for parental redemption hadn't entirely disappeared, he had found comfort in other areas of his life. Professional success filled one void, and genuine friendships filled another. His grandparents' unwavering support had taught him the true essence of family. Although he occasionally received updates about his parents and Lily through relatives, Henry had established boundaries, choosing to keep interactions to a minimum. He had learned that self-preservation was not selfish but necessary for his peace of mind. He had chosen a path that diverged from expectation, carving out a life defined not by his family's demands but by his own desires and aspirations. This journey wasn't without its challenges, and the pang of what could have been still lingered on occasion. Yet, Henry found strength in his ability to forge forward, resilient and determined to live a life that was authentically his own. Each step was a testament to his resilience, a tribute to the boy who was once overshadowed but refused to be defined by it. Titulo, Shadows of Favoritism. Part 3. As the years passed, the chasm between my parents and me widened, evolving into an unwritten but ever-present contract. This deep-rooted favoritism built a long-lasting wall, a structure that seemed impenetrable to me. While I strived to establish my own path, my parents remained unyielding in their affection and support for Emma, continually turning a blind eye to her reckless behavior. Each misstep by her was met with understanding and leniency, while I faced scrutiny for even minor errors. Despite my academic achievements and financial independence, I was perceived as the rebellious child merely because I refused to toe the line. My heart ached with each instance where Emma's needs were placed above mine, the disparity in treatment camouflaged as concern for her well-being. Yet, it was undeniable in its existence, shaping my own perceptions of worth and belonging. Financial disagreements were the most frequent battlegrounds. When our parents came knocking with requests for aid towards Emma's latest financial mishap or impulsive pursuit, I stood my ground. I declined their pleas, It was a silent stand against years of neglect. While it may have painted me as the antagonist in their narrative, my grandparents understood my position. They became my pillars, offering reassurance and often reflecting their discontent with my parents' choices. I watched angrily from the sidelines as Emma navigated her life with the safety net consistently being woven beneath her by my parents. Yet, no amount of assistance seemed sufficient or long-lasting for her. The cycle of demand and rescue seemed endless, and with every iteration, my resolve strengthened. I always hoped for change, that maybe one day they would see the inequity and appreciate the accomplishments I achieved without their encouragement. At family gatherings, I observed the unspoken hierarchy that elevated Emma, the symphony of praise that serenaded her when she graced the room with her presence, while my contributions were acknowledged with murmurs. These events always ended with me feeling more like a spectator than a participant. Even as I moved further into adulthood, the longing for acceptance was a persistent shadow. The legacy of not being the favored child sliced at my confidence and resilience. Yet, paradoxically, it was the manifestation of the very independence I had cultivated over years of being the ignored sibling. I had crafted a life where I didn't need their validation to proceed, a truth that offered a bittersweet solace. My grandparents continued to be my anchor, their unwavering affection the balm to many wounds my family dynamic had inflicted. They often mused about the unraveling of favoritism over cups of tea, hoping I could forge a future unmarked by old scars. The grip favoritism had on my family wasn't isolated to our home, it extended its tendrils into every aspect of my life, subtly influencing relationships and life decisions, but it was also a profound reminder of my ability to endure and succeed independently. In time, I had come to waver between resentment and resolution, my heart locked in a dance with memories that were equally nourishing and suffocating. Thus, the saga continues, a paradox of solitude and strength, a whispered promise to oneself that someday their influence will dwindle to mere ripples. And in this journey, my identity was continually shaped, not by the shadows of favoritism, but by the light of personal triumph and grace even in the face of disparity. As the tapestry of life continued to unfold, I held tightly to the affirmations granted by my grandparents and the sanctity of a clear conscience. The foundations were now laid for a new chapter where the legacy of favoritism would neither define me nor dictate the course I chose to traverse. A silent promise to myself echoed, never to let such inequity cascade down to future generations. The threads of my narrative woven with resilience would overshadow the disparate tales told by others, a testament to the unwavering spirit within. To be continued. Part 4. Choices and Consequences. As months turned into years, I couldn't shake the feeling of resentment that festered in my heart like a slow-growing shadow. Life in Crystal Hills marched on, each sunrise and sunset acting as a silent testament to the choices Emma and I made. While she continued to orbit around her chaotic universe, her actions became increasingly reckless. There she was, my sister Lily, with her magnetic charm that seemed to pull everyone in, even if her past was littered with a series of blunders that left a trail of chaos in her wake. Lily had always possessed an innate ability to attract and discard opportunities with little regard for the consequences. It was as if life was a game of luck for her, and she was convinced she held unbeatable cards. Meanwhile, I toiled tirelessly in the shadows, my ambitions barely seen by the ones I hoped would appreciate them most, our parents. One stormy Tuesday afternoon, while the rain pelted against the window panes of my humble apartment, the phone rang. It was my mother, her voice carrying both agitation and urgency. "Liam, we need to talk about your sister," she said, each word hanging heavily in the air. I closed my eyes momentarily, anticipating the all-too-familiar plea that would follow, a request for financial help to solve yet another of Lily's self-inflicted predicaments. "What is it this time?" I replied, trying to keep the weariness from seeping into my tone. "Sarah, her eldest, she's having issues in school. Lily's unable to manage on her own with the kids. Could you help, just this one more time?" The words echoed through the room, resurrecting memories of past sacrifices, where I was asked to give up something for my sister's comfort. "Mom, you know I've already stretched myself thin," I said, wishing, for once, that my reasoning could penetrate the stubborn veil of favoritism that had been ever present in my family. "I won't. Continue to fix her problems." She needs to stand on her own. The silence that followed was like a chasm, wide and deep, punctuated only by the monotonous ticking of the wall clock. My stand had been stated clearly, fortified by years of disappointment. After ending the call, a wave of relief washed over me, mingled with a mere suggestion of guilt. With renewed determination, I resolved to craft my own life path, fueled by aspirations untouched by the shadows of Lily's decisions. My grandparents had always encouraged me to invest in my future, and it was time I honored their belief in me. Turning back to my laptop, I continued working on a business proposal that had been my passion project for months, an initiative aimed at creating sustainable housing solutions. The vision was monumental, but the dedication of my late nights had begun turning aspirations into tangible possibilities. Lillian and Grandpa Joe had always championed my view of improving the community, their spirits fueling my drive. Days flowed by, each passing moment marked by the careful transition from one task to another. The little victories I amassed, an accepted design here, an investor's interest there, were my stepping stones toward independence. They reminded me that my journey was mine alone and that accountability lay in my hands. One evening, as I reviewed a stack of papers with mind-numbing precision, a sudden knock interrupted the silence. Standing at the door was Lily, clutching a frayed folder and wearing an expression I didn't recognize, a mixture of resolve and vulnerability. "Hey, Eli," she began, her voice a mere whisper. "Can I come in? I need to talk about something important." Letting her in, I felt the swirling emotions from our childhood resurface, the complicated tapestry of siblinghood woven with rivalry and love, resentment and protectiveness. "What's going on?" I asked cautiously, observing the weight she carried. "This," she said, holding out the folder. "It's time I changed, Eli. I've been accepted into a program, a chance to start fresh, to do something meaningful. But it's a big step, and I can't do it alone." Her words were laced with fragility, yet there was a spark in her eyes I hadn't seen before, a genuine desire to break free from the patterns of the past. It was a moment of reckoning, a crossroad where possibilities lingered on the edge of choices yet to be made. For the first time in years, Lily seemed to embrace the person she was meant to be, untethered by old expectations and constraints. The path ahead of us was uncertain, but in that moment, we both knew it was time to forge forward, side by side, and redefine what it truly meant to be family. Part 5. Resistance and Resilience. Ethan sat at his kitchen table, staring at the stacks of bills piling up, a stark contrast to the colorful drawings his nephew sent him. Life had never been gentle with him, especially when it came to family dynamics. While Amelia basked in the sunlight of their parents' unwavering adoration, he had always lived in the shadows, persistently carving his path through life's challenges without their acknowledgement. Amelia was the epitome of charm. She had a golden aura that captivated everyone she met. Their parents were enthralled, showering her with unending love and forgiveness, no matter how many chaotic relationships she flung herself into. Ethan, on the other hand, was the reliable rock, perpetually burdened by the expectations of maturity without the reward of appreciation. When Amelia approached him with yet another plea for financial help, citing her children's needs, Ethan felt a strange mix of anger and compassion. His heart ached for the innocent children caught in the turbulence, but his mind was resolute. He remembered the last time he succumbed to his family's emotional manipulation. The cascade of resentment that followed was something he refused to endure again. "I'm sorry, Amelia," Ethan said, his voice steady but firm. "I can't do it this time. My own obligations come first." He expected fury or tears, but what he received instead was a sullen acceptance. It was as if even Amelia, in her world of perpetual chaos, understood that he had finally drawn a line. A few days later, Ethan received an unexpected visit from his grandfather, Richard, a man of few words but vast wisdom. "Proud of you, boy," Richard said, his eyes twinkling with unspoken understanding. "Standing ground isn't easy, but you've got to look after yourself first." That simple acknowledgement fortified Ethan's resolve far more than he could express. Despite everything, the familial guilt lingered, a shadow that ebbed and flowed with each passing day. Ethan grappled with it, ever mindful that self-care didn't equate to selfishness. The dilemma of balancing personal needs against familial duties felt like walking a tightrope, each step precarious but necessary. Ethan's grandparents, particularly his grandmother, Vivian, were his pillars. Vivian always had a gentle word and a comforting hug, steering him away from bitterness. Her stories of resilience, sprinkled with laughter, were a balm in his turbulent world. One evening, as Ethan shared dinner with his grandparents, Vivian recounted tales of her youth, of difficult choices and sacrifices. "You see, dear," she said, slicing a piece of apple pie, "sometimes holding your ground is the bravest thing you can do. Family will test you, but don't lose yourself in the process." Those words lingered long after Ethan left their warm, inviting home. They replayed in his mind as he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, contemplating his place in the complicated web of familial bonds. Ethan's decision didn't sever his relationship with his family, as he had feared. It reshaped it, shifting the dynamics in a less tangible but profoundly significant way. He continued to offer emotional support, being there for his nephews, while establishing clear boundaries that respected his well-being. The change wasn't without its challenges. His parents' coldness, masked as disappointment, still cut deep. But Ethan learned to bear it with grace, fueled by the unwavering love and wisdom of his grandparents. In his newfound balance, Ethan discovered an inner peace that eluded him for years. He realized that strength lay not in conforming to others' expectations, but in honoring his own truth. And while the journey of familial relationships is perpetual, Ethan felt ready to face whatever came next, armed with resilience and an indomitable spirit. Certainly, here's the conclusion for your story. My heart aches from the lingering imbalance within my family. Each time I see Claire, my sister, maneuvering her way through life with the cushion of unwavering parental support, I can't help but reflect on how the disparity between us has shaped who I am. She basks in a safety net that, time and again, catches her when she plunges from yet another impulsive leap. Meanwhile, my path was always paved with self-reliance and caution, my achievements solely a result of personal grit and determination. Despite the favoritism, however, I've come to realize that carving my own path has made me resilient. My grandparents' backing was like a gentle nudge in the direction of independence and self-sufficiency, teaching me the value of hard work and perseverance. While my parents constantly gravitated towards Claire's orbit, I built a universe of my own, with constellations of effort and galaxies of ambition. But this story is not just about sibling dynamics and parental bias. It's a reflection, a mirror held up to society and the question of fairness within familial contexts. Are those who fight harder for less the ones truly cultivating strength? Does stepping out from beneath the shadow of bias fuel the spirit or burden the soul? My story leaves you with a lingering thought. The ultimate question we must ask ourselves is not who receives more love, but rather how we define our worth outside of others' perceptions. In the grand mosaic of family, sometimes the smallest places of love, unexpected and uncelebrated, bear the brightest colors. If you've ever felt like the less favored one, remember you're not alone on this journey. Perhaps the challenges you face are crafting a unique narrative, one that only you can tell with courage and conviction. Thank you for joining me on this personal exploration. If you enjoyed this dive into complex family dynamics and wish to ponder more on life's intricate stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'd love to have you on board as we navigate these amazing tales together.